What if I told you that every moment you spend in the market, you're staring directly into the jaws of uncertainty, and that this is exactly where your journey as a trader begins? You're not here to control the market, and you're certainly not here to outsmart chaos. Bob Volman's Forex Price Action Scalping doesn't sugarcoat it. Your first and most urgent task is to face the unpredictable nature of the market head-on. Imagine the feeling of placing your first live trade, heart racing, palms sweating, certain you've spotted a pattern, only to watch price whip against you in a matter of seconds. Volman writes, "No matter how deeply you analyze, the market will always do something unexpected. That's its only real constant." If you're honest with yourself, how many times have you hesitated to take a trade or bailed out too soon because things didn't go as you'd planned? This is the crucible where all traders are tested. The market is mercilessly random in the short term. You cannot predict, you cannot guarantee, and you cannot will your strategy to work every single time. Think about the last time you meticulously planned a trade, only for a single news spike or a bout of low liquidity to ruin everything. Volman isn't alone in this perspective. Mark Douglas, in Trading in the Zone, hammers home the same lesson. Anything can happen. You don't need to know what's going to happen next in order to make money. The first step isn't strategy or signals. It's emotional acceptance. The sooner you admit to yourself that you will never have certainty, the sooner you can stop fighting the market and start adapting to it. This isn't just philosophical posturing. Accepting unpredictability means you stop seeking perfection. You stop rewriting your rules every time a trade goes wrong. You let go of the exhausting urge to find the secret pattern that will finally unlock the market. Instead, you start to view your job differently. Your role is not to control the market, but to manage your responses to it. As Volman puts it, your edge is in your adaptability, not your accuracy. Think about that for a moment. How many times have you thought, if only I'd been more accurate, I wouldn't have lost? That mindset keeps you chained to frustration. The real breakthrough is realizing your growth as a trader begins when you finally stop needing to be right and start focusing on being flexible. If you look at the journeys of elite traders, whether it's Volman, Douglas, or Jared Tendler, the recurring theme is emotional resilience in the face of randomness. They don't blame the market when things go wrong. They don't waste energy on regret. Instead, they move on quickly, recalibrating their approach, hunting for the next opportunity. You're being called to do the same. How do you start? You acknowledge the anxiety and fear that come with unpredictability. You stop pretending the market is something you can bend to your will. You begin to build a mindset where unpredictability is not a threat, but an invitation to improve. Picture yourself, the next time you open a chart, asking a better question. What is the market telling me right now? Instead of, how can I force my will onto this chart? That shift is subtle, but it's revolutionary. You will never banish uncertainty, but you can learn to thrive within it. As Volman reminds you, it is not the market's job to be predictable. It is your job to adapt. The real trader, the one who survives and grows, is the one who steps into the unknown willingly, eyes wide open, ready for anything. Just the word is enough to trigger a flinch in most traders. But what if I told you that volatility isn't your enemy? It's your environment. In Bob Volman's Forex Price Action Scalping, you're challenged to look at volatility not as an obstacle, but as the ever-changing canvas upon which your entire trading career is painted. Volman writes, price is always in motion, and that motion is rarely smooth. What appears as chaos to the untrained eye is simply the raw material of opportunity. Think about the last time you felt blindsided by a sudden price spike. Did you curse the market's unfairness? Or did you recognize that within that very chaos lies the fuel for every possible profit you will ever make? The truth is, every pip of movement, up or down, fast or slow, is part of the game you've chosen to play. When you start to accept chaos as normal, something dramatic happens. You stop resisting the market's natural state. Instead, you begin to adapt. Volman describes the Forex market as a living organism, never at rest, always unpredictable, always offering signals for those who are paying attention. This echoes the wisdom of Mike Bellafiore in One Good Trade, who tells you your edge comes from your ability to respond, not to predict. These perspectives aren't meant to make you comfortable. They're meant to jolt you awake to reality. Let's get real. How often have you found yourself paralyzed because the market was moving too fast or too unpredictably? Maybe you widened your stops, skipped a setup, or even revenge traded because the market didn't behave. But the market isn't here to make you comfortable or follow your script. Volman insists that the market's rhythm is inherently volatile. And that's not a bug. It's the feature that makes short-term scalping possible. The key is shifting your mindset from one of defensiveness to one of open observation. The best traders aren't the ones who hope for calm seas. They're the ones who learn to surf the waves. When you accept volatility, you stop demanding guarantees. You stop looking for safe trades and start looking for clarity within the noise. Volman teaches you to watch for the subtle cues in price action, the little pauses, the fake-outs, the sudden surges that reveal where the next edge might appear. But you only see those if you're willing to stay present in the uncertainty. As he writes, you must let go of the need for the market to make sense. It rarely will, but it will always move. This is a truth echoed by Douglas. Markets are not random, but they are unpredictable. The difference is crucial. There is a logic, but it's not always obvious or comfortable. It's your job to accept this and find opportunity within it. This is where your trading journey becomes real. Volatility doesn't care about your plans. It doesn't slow down for your comfort. It won't apologize for wiping out your last 3 trades. But you, if you're willing to adapt, can learn to see opportunity in every twist and turn. You start to realize that every burst of volatility is a signal, a chance to act, adjust, and learn. When you stop fearing volatility, you unlock your ability to respond fluidly. You become less attached to outcomes and more focused on executing your process in the present moment. So the next time you see the market lurch unexpectedly, don't panic. Take a breath and remind yourself, this is the environment you signed up for. This is the game. Volman's challenge to you is simple, but not easy. Make volatility your teacher, not your tormentor. Your real edge is forged right here, in the acceptance of chaos as your normal. And with every tick, every unpredictable move, you get a new chance to prove it. You're not trying to win every trade. You're not here to predict the market's every move. If you're honest, that desire to predict, to know, to control, to guarantee has been your undoing more times than you'd like to admit. But Bob Volman is clear. Real adaptability starts when you ditch the obsession with prediction and embrace the process. Let that land for a moment. Because every time you obsess about where price should go next, you rob yourself of the only thing you actually control, your response, your execution, your process. In Forex Price Action Scalping, Volman writes, the greatest traders are those who don't care to predict, they care to respond. When you become fixated on being right, you set yourself up for disappointment, self-blame, and a cycle of reactive, emotional trading. Sound familiar? You probably know that feeling. The rush of pride when a prediction is correct, the sting of humiliation when it isn't. What you may not realize is that this prediction-focused mindset is a trap. Jared Tendler in The Mental Game of Trading explains, when your self-worth becomes attached to outcomes, your emotional state becomes hostage to randomness. And in the world of scalping, randomness is the rule, not the exception. So what's the alternative? It's shifting your focus completely onto your process. Volman breaks this down with a surgeon's precision. You should care about the quality of your entries, the discipline of your stops, the efficiency of your exits. You should care about sticking to your plan even when it's uncomfortable. These are the things you control. These are the things that make you adaptive. That's your job, not fortune-telling, not ego-soothing, but process mastery. Think about how your trading changes when you let go of prediction. Suddenly, your losses don't feel so personal. They become feedback, data you can use to refine your system. Your wins don't inflate your ego. They reinforce your discipline. You stop asking, am I right? And start asking, did I follow my process? And that one change, that single commitment to process over outcome, becomes the cornerstone of genuine adaptability. Compare this with other great trading minds. Mark Douglas says, if you believe in the unpredictability of the market, your focus naturally shifts to executing your edge flawlessly, trade after trade. Mike Bellafiore echoes, you can't control whether a trade works, only whether you executed your playbook. The lesson is inescapable. Let go of needing to be right, and you free yourself to become effective. That's where true confidence is born, not in a string of lucky wins, but in your relentless, disciplined adherence to a repeatable process. So, what does this look like in your daily trading? You plan each trade with care, but you release your attachment to the outcome the moment you click buy or sell. You journal every trade, not to celebrate your wins, but to study your process. Did you follow your plan? Did you execute without hesitation or second guessing? When you lose, you don't spiral. You review, adjust, and move on. When you win, you don't gloat. You simply repeat. This is the rhythm of professional trading. Volman's most powerful teaching is that you are not a psychic. You are a manager of risk, a practitioner of discipline, a student of the process. The moment you fully internalize this, you become immune to the emotional roller coaster of win and loss. Your identity is no longer built on being right, but on doing right. That's the mental upgrade that separates the survivors from the casualties in the trading arena. As you move forward, remember, the process is the path. Every time you shift your focus from outcome to execution, you're rewiring yourself to handle whatever the market throws your way. And with every trade, you're building a mindset that thrives on adaptability, not prediction. Reading price action in real time is not just a technical skill. It's the single most powerful compass you have in the sea of market uncertainty. You don't have to predict the future, but you must interpret the present with brutal honesty. Bob Volman is unrelenting on this point. If you want to survive and thrive as a price action scalper, you must learn to listen to what the market is telling you in this exact moment, not what you wish it would say. How do you do that? By stripping away the noise and truly seeing what's unfolding right now on your chart. Volman writes, every candle, every wick, every pause is the market speaking to you. Your job is to listen with detachment and act with discipline. Let that sink in. How many times have you missed a trade because you were lost in hindsight? Or worse, paralyzed by fear of what might happen? Real-time reading means tuning out your ego, your hope, your regret, and simply observing price as it forms. You're not alone in struggling with this. Even experienced traders fall prey to chart blindness, seeing only what fits their bias, ignoring what's actually there. Mark Douglas cautions, we see what we want to see, not what's actually happening. Volman's method, by contrast, is almost meditative. You anchor yourself in the present. You mark out the critical levels. You watch how price reacts to those levels, and you take trades not on hope, but on clear, observed reactions. Think about the last time you saw a false breakout. How quickly did you recognize it for what it was? Did you freeze? Or did you adapt in real time? Volman's setups are built on immediate market feedback. The hesitation at a level, the exhaustion of a push, the sudden flush of liquidity. He teaches you to spot momentum shifts as they happen, not after the fact. You don't need to predict how far the move will go. You only need to see what's happening now and manage your risk accordingly. Here's where the real magic happens. As you develop your real-time reading skills, you begin to see the market not as a series of random events, but as a living narrative unfolding tick by tick. You start to anticipate, not predict, what might happen next, based on evidence, not emotion. You realize that price action is like the heartbeat of the market. It reveals where tension is building and where it's about to break. You become fluent in the language of supply and demand, support and resistance, order flow, and exhaustion. This is the heart of adaptability. The more you train yourself to observe without attachment, the more flexible you become. Instead of forcing trades to fit your expectations, you let the market show its hand and you act accordingly. This is not passive, it's active, responsive, and most importantly, honest. Volman puts it bluntly, react to what is, not what you wish would be. That's the foundation of every winning scalper he's ever studied. Compare this with Bellafiore's principle, one good trade at a time. You're not chasing a story. You're responding to reality as it unfolds. Each moment on the chart is a new opportunity to adapt, to adjust, to align your actions with the present. As you internalize this skill, you'll find your confidence grows, not from the illusion of prediction, but from the strength of presence. The more present you are with price action, the faster you adapt. The faster you adapt, the more consistent you become, even when the market is at its most chaotic. So, The next time you sit down at your charts, try this. Clear your head, draw your levels, and let price action be your guide. Don't ask the market to behave. Just ask yourself, what is price telling me right now? That's how you turn uncertainty into opportunity every single session. Let's talk about control, or more accurately, your illusion of it. Every trader craves control, but Bob Volman delivers the uncomfortable truth. The more you cling to control, the less adaptable you become. You know this already. Every time you force a trade to work, stubbornly hold on to a loser, or refuse to adapt your plan to what the market is actually doing, you're not exercising discipline. You're sabotaging your own adaptability. The market is relentless in exposing this psychological flaw, and if you don't confront it, you'll repeat the same mistakes, trade after trade. Why do you crave control so desperately? It's human nature. The mind hates uncertainty. It craves structure, predictability, and reassurance. In trading, this becomes dangerous. Volman writes, adaptability begins when you let go of your need to control the outcome. If you're honest, how often has your desire to avoid pain, financial loss, embarrassment, regret led you to micromanage a trade or ignore obvious signals to exit? You're not alone. Douglas calls this emotional risk aversion, the tendency to prioritize emotional comfort over rational trading decisions. But here's the real killer. The tighter you grip, the more you distort reality. When you refuse to admit a setup isn't working, when you move stops to give it more room, when you double down to make it back, you are refusing to adapt. You're fighting the market, not flowing with it. Volman sees this repeatedly. Traders who can't let go of control find themselves constantly on the defensive, always behind the curve, always a step too slow. Think back to the last time you overrode your plan because the trade just had to work. Did it ever end well? So what's the solution? First, brutal honesty. Admit your need for control is costing you profits and peace of mind. Recognize the patterns. Volman tells you to observe your own thoughts mid-trade. Notice when your mind starts grasping for certainty. That's the signal to pause and reassess. The market doesn't care about your feelings. It doesn't bend to your will. Your job is to let go, quickly, when price action tells you the trade is wrong. This takes courage and humility, qualities rarely talked about in trading forums, but absolutely critical for long-term success. There's more. True adaptability requires self-forgiveness. You will make mistakes. You will exit too early, hold too long, misread the tape. It's inevitable. But the traders who last are the ones who forgive themselves, reset instantly, and get ready for the next opportunity. This echoes Tendler's advice. Don't let one trade define you. The market gives you endless chances to get it right if you're willing to adapt. Stop seeing mistakes as failures and start seeing them as signals, feedback that it's time to pivot. How does this play out in reality? Imagine you're in a trade and suddenly price surges against you. Your instinct is to manage the loss, hoping for a reversal. But you've trained yourself to listen. Your stop is hit, you exit, and you immediately review. Was your entry valid? Was your exit disciplined? What can you learn right now to do better next time? This is adaptability in action. Letting go of what you cannot control, focusing fiercely on what you can. The hard truth is, the market owes you nothing. It does not reward hope, ego, or stubbornness. It rewards those who can let go quickly, who treat every trade as a fresh challenge, and who see every session as a new beginning. The moment you release the need for control, you unlock your real potential as a trader. Volman's message is simple. Your flexibility is your only weapon against the market's unpredictability. The faster you surrender control, the faster you evolve. Discipline isn't just a word. It's the invisible architecture that makes every moment of adaptability possible. You want to be nimble, quick to adjust, sharp in the heat of battle? Then you need systems, routines, and emotional checklists that keep your decision-making consistent, even when your mind wants to spiral into fear or euphoria. Bob Volman is unequivocal. Without discipline, adaptability is just chaos in disguise. Have you ever told yourself you'd stick to your plan, only to abandon it at the first sign of trouble? A sudden red candle? A little spike of adrenaline? This is where the difference between amateurs and professionals is forged. You've heard this before from Douglas. Consistency is the result of a state of mind, not a set of rules. But Volman's approach is even more granular. He shows you how to construct a system of checks and balances, pre-trade checklists, entry criteria, stop placement protocols, review routines that turn discipline from an abstract goal into a lived daily practice. Your routine becomes your anchor in the storm. Before the session, you review your setups, mark your levels, visualize your executions. During the session, you follow a checklist. Is this setup valid? Am I emotionally calm? Is my stop placed logically, or am I chasing? After every trade, you ask, did I follow my process or did I flinch? It sounds tedious until you realize that the real value is psychological. These routines keep your brain from panicking in the face of uncertainty. Instead of being tossed around by every tick and flicker, you ground yourself in a process that's been rehearsed, tested, and refined. Volman emphasizes that the best scalpers aren't always the fastest thinkers. They're the most systematic. The routine frees you to focus on the only thing that matters, the next high-quality decision, he writes. If you're honest, how many of your worst trades came when you abandoned your process on a whim, convinced that this time is different? Emotional discipline is at the core of this. Volman advocates for emotional check-ins. Before you take a trade, you ask yourself, am I acting out of fear? Out of revenge? Am I bored? Am I disciplined? If you answer yes to anything other than discipline, you step back. This single habit can save you thousands in losses and endless hours of regret. Jared Tendler hammers this point in his work. Emotion is information. Use it. Don't fight it. Let it tell you when you're about to make a mistake. Your ability to pause, check yourself, and only act from a place of emotional neutrality is your edge. You might be wondering, does this kill spontaneity? Does it make trading robotic? The truth is the opposite. When your routines are solid, you're actually more flexible. Because you know you can trust your process, you can take quick, decisive action when the market shifts. You're less likely to freeze, less likely to double down on a mistake. You move fluidly from one trade to the next because you're not weighed down by hesitation or self-doubt. Bellafiore puts it best. Discipline buys you freedom. Freedom to execute, freedom to adapt. In reality, your systems and routines are your safety net. They catch you when you slip, guide you back when you lose focus, and provide a clear, repeatable framework for improvement. The more you refine your process, the more adaptable you become, not just in theory, but in every tick of live trading. Every professional trader you admire got there not by raw talent, but by building a routine so strong they could fall back on it when everything else was falling apart. So as you look at your own trading, ask, where are my routines weak? Where do I ignore my own checklists? How can I build stronger emotional discipline so I can adapt, adjust, and thrive, no matter what the market throws at me? Because in the end, discipline isn't a restriction, it's your superpower. If you want to master adaptability, you need to become obsessed with immediate feedback. This is the art of micromanagement, not of the market, but of your own responses, your own execution, your own evolving process. Bob Volman doesn't mince words. The difference between a survivor and a casualty in scalping is how quickly you learn from each trade. You can't afford to wait for some grand monthly review or to reflect when the week is done. The real work is in the moment, trade by trade, tick by tick. Think about your last losing trade. Did you take the time to truly dissect it as soon as it ended? Or did you brush it aside, promising to look at it later? If you're like most traders, you rush to the next opportunity, hoping to bury the discomfort of the last mistake. But this is precisely what keeps you stuck. Immediate feedback is the difference maker. Volman teaches you to be relentless. The market will give you feedback whether you want it or not. The question is, will you listen? Every trade is a test, an experiment with instant results. When you react quickly to feedback, you evolve faster. You notice subtle patterns, a hesitation in your entries, a premature exit, a tendency to widen stops when nervous. You can't fix what you don't face, and the faster you face it, the faster you grow. Mark Douglas points out, your edge is not just in your system, it's in your ability to recognize and correct errors on the fly. Think about that. Are you using every outcome, win or loss, as a chance to sharpen your craft? This requires humility and brutal honesty. There's no room for ego in micromanagement. If your plan was wrong, you change it. If your emotion clouded your judgment, you address it. You're not here to protect your pride. You're here to improve your execution. Jared Tendler would remind you, treat every trade as a lesson. The faster you process the lesson, the faster you progress. This isn't about perfection. It's about relentless iteration. Your ability to adapt is directly tied to your willingness to listen to what the market and your own process are telling you right now. Here's how you put this into practice. After each trade, you run a quick self-audit. Did you follow your setup rules? Did you hesitate or jump the gun? Were you calm or reactive? Even 5 seconds of honest reflection, repeated dozens of times each day, transforms you faster than hours of backtesting ever could. Volman is crystal clear. Micromanaging your performance doesn't mean overthinking. It means catching and correcting errors before they become habits. Contrast this with traders who ignore feedback. They keep making the same mistakes, convinced the market is unfair or that their luck will turn. They stagnate. But you, if you embrace this discipline, start to evolve at warp speed. You welcome feedback, even when it stings, because you know it's the only way to become bulletproof in real time. This mindset brings freedom. You stop fearing mistakes because each one is just a signal, a data point for improvement. You're no longer a slave to frustration, regret, or revenge. You become a trading scientist, relentlessly refining your process, stripping away inefficiency, and sharpening your instincts. This is the growth edge, the place where elite traders are forged, one moment, one decision at a time. So ask yourself, are you willing to get uncomfortable? Are you ready to audit yourself after every trade, not just every week? The faster you adapt, the stronger you become. Volman's message is simple, but non-negotiable. Listen to the feedback, adjust without ego, and the market will teach you how to win. Every trader fears them, dreads them, tries desperately to avoid them. But what if I told you that your mistakes are not just inevitable, they are essential to your growth as a trader? Bob Volman makes this point unmistakable. The best traders aren't those who avoid mistakes, but those who learn to treat every error, every loss, every misread as valuable data. You're not your P&L. Your self-worth cannot ride the roller coaster of wins and losses. Volman writes, the most dangerous habit is seeing each loss as a reflection of your worth instead of a source of feedback. You know this feeling. After a loss, your mind spins with regret. Why did I do that? Am I cut out for this? What's wrong with me? This mental spiral does nothing but sabotage your adaptability. Instead, Volman demands a radical shift. Detach your sense of self from the outcome of any single trade. This isn't just positive thinking. It's a deliberate, repeated mental practice. Mark Douglas hammers this point in Trading in the Zone. Accepting the risk means accepting the outcome, win or lose, as just part of the process. The market is not judging you. It's offering you information, pure and simple. Ask yourself, how many times have you hesitated on a great setup because your last trade lost money? How many times have you chased a move just to make it back after a losing streak? These are not technical errors. They're emotional reactions to a toxic attachment between your trading results and your self-esteem. Volman's approach is ruthless. You are only as good as your ability to analyze, adapt, and act. Nothing more, nothing less. The scoreboard resets with every new trade. The real pros, Volman, Douglas, Tendler, Bellafiore, share this psychological armor. When they make mistakes, they extract the lesson, adjust their plan, and move forward. There's no room for self-punishment. Jared Tendler calls it moving from judgment to curiosity. You look at every trade, every mistake, not as evidence for or against your ability, but as raw data for improvement. It's the most freeing shift you can make. Every outcome is useful. Every error is a map to your next evolution. This mindset transforms your relationship with the market. Losses sting, but they don't derail you. Wins feel good, but they don't inflate your ego. You stop fearing the next mistake because you know it will teach you something vital. You become detached, not from your passion for trading, but from the ego traps that keep most traders stuck in cycles of boom and bust. You develop what Volman calls adaptive detachment, the ability to see your performance clearly without distortion from hope, fear, or pride. So, how do you implement this? The next time you take a loss, pause. Don't explain it away. Don't spiral into shame. Ask, what was the real mistake? Was it technical? Was it emotional? What data does this loss give me for the next setup? Then move on, mentally clean, ready for the next trade. Over time, this habit compounds, transforming you into the type of trader who thrives on feedback, not validation. If you can master this one psychological skill, detaching your self-worth from your results, you become unstoppable. The market cannot shake you with a string of losses. You don't chase, you don't freeze, you don't give up. You adapt. Every mistake, every painful lesson is fuel for your next breakthrough. Volman's challenge is simple but profound. Treat every outcome as data. Let your growth, not your ego, define you. Consistency is what every trader chases, but so few actually achieve. Why? Because most traders try to manufacture consistency through prediction or control, when the real source is entirely different. Bob Volman insists, consistency emerges not from dominating the market, but from mastering yourself, especially when things are most uncertain. This is the elusive flow state, that almost magical zone where you execute without hesitation, adapt to shifting price action, and trust your process with a calm, focused mind. But let's be real, maintaining this state is hard. The market is relentless in testing your discipline, your patience, your focus. Volman writes, "The consistent trader is not the one who wins every trade, but the one who acts the same way in every situation." Think about that. It's not about outcome, but about process repeated faithfully. You've seen this echoed by Mark Douglas. Consistency is a function of a carefree, objective state of mind. And yet, how many times have you abandoned your process at the first sign of chaos, thinking, this time is different? This is the moment that tests your adaptability most. When the market gets wild, your emotions rise: fear, greed, anxiety. If you haven't trained yourself, those emotions will hijack your decision-making. But Volman teaches you to use uncertainty as the signal to double down on your process. You rely on your pre-trade routine, your checklists, your rules. You focus on execution, not on outcome. The more chaotic the environment, the more rigidly you hold to your process. Paradoxically, that's where you find your flexibility. So what does this look like in real trading? You enter each session with clear intent. I am here to execute, not to predict. I trust my process. As you spot setups, you assess them with the same criteria. No shortcuts, no exceptions. Win or lose, you review, adjust, and move forward. The chaos of the market becomes background noise because your internal state is consistent. You're in flow. Jared Tendler calls this trusting your training. The work you've done in calm markets prepares you to execute under stress. But here's the key. Consistency isn't monotony. It's not robotic or unthinking. Instead, it's a dynamic balance, sticking to your plan while staying open to new information from the market. You're constantly adapting, but you never abandon your core process. This is what Volman means by consistency through uncertainty. You become the eye of the storm, calm, focused, adaptive, no matter how wild the market gets. Over time, this approach compounds. You start to build self-trust. Not the kind that depends on your last trade, but the deep, resilient confidence that comes from countless repetitions of process-driven action. You stop fearing chaos because you know that chaos is exactly where your skills shine. Every session becomes an opportunity to reinforce your consistency, your adaptability, your self-trust. The ultimate lesson? The trader who survives isn't the one with the most accurate predictions, but the one who remains unshakable in process, no matter the environment. As Volman reminds you, in the midst of chaos, discipline is your edge. Consistency is your shield. You stop chasing the illusion of certainty, and instead, you trust yourself to respond, calmly, decisively, relentlessly. So as you trade, ask yourself, are you reacting to chaos or acting from process? Do you trust yourself, or are you waiting for the market to feel right? Because the truth is, flow state and self-trust aren't rewards for lucky trading. They're the results of relentless, disciplined adaptability, practiced day in and day out. And adaptability isn't just a trading skill. It's a way of life for those who want to last in the markets. Bob Volman closes his teachings by urging you to see adaptability as an ongoing process, a muscle you must flex and grow with every single session. If you want an edge that endures, you need to make becoming adaptive your core identity, not just a checkbox on your trading plan. Volman puts it bluntly, the only constant is your capacity to reinvent yourself in response to what the market is offering. Right now, today. You've spent years perhaps searching for the perfect system, the foolproof setup, the strategy that will work in every market. Here's the truth. The market changes, your setups will stop working, volatility will dry up or explode, and no holy grail will ever shield you from those shifts. The traders who survive, who thrive, are those who embrace reinvention as a daily ritual. This is the adaptive edge. It means letting go of pride, ego, and the desire for certainty and becoming a lifelong student of the market. Think back to every lesson in this journey: confronting unpredictability, welcoming volatility, dropping the obsession with prediction, reading price action in real time, releasing the illusion of control, building disciplined routines, acting on immediate feedback, learning from mistakes without self-judgment, and cultivating consistency through uncertainty. Each of these is a piece of the adaptability puzzle, and the work is never finished. Volman writes, "The day you think you've mastered the market is the day you start losing. True mastery is humble, curious, and always evolving." What does this mean for you? It means turning every trading session into a laboratory. You ask, what is the market teaching me today? You adjust your risk, your strategy, your mindset constantly, not occasionally. You refuse to get stuck in dogma. When your edge slips, you tweak, you learn, you move forward. This is how the greats stay relevant in every market environment. Compare this to the advice of Douglas Tendler or Bellafiore. They all point to the same truth. The real professionals don't cling to the past. They reinvent themselves, sometimes daily, because they know the market demands it. Volman gives you permission. No, he demands of you to be fluid, flexible, humble, and hungry. This isn't about being weak or indecisive. It's about having the courage to change before the market forces you to. The practical takeaway is clear. Don't wait for a drawdown to start adapting. Build adaptation into your routine. Review what's working, ditch what isn't. Stay curious. Read the sections of Volman's book that speak to your weaknesses, whether it's process discipline, emotional detachment, or immediate feedback. Apply those lessons ruthlessly and make adaptability your habit, not your emergency brake. Because in the end, the market will always change. The only question is, will you? You've just traveled through the core psychological and practical lessons of Bob Volman's Forex Price Action Scalping. But the real journey begins now. The market is unpredictable. Volatility is your constant companion. Your job is not to predict the next move or control every outcome, but to respond, to adapt, to reinvent yourself with every trade. If there's one truth that threads through Volman's work and through the wisdom of Douglas Tendler and Bellafiore, it's this: mastery in trading is mastery of self, of process, discipline, and above all, adaptability. Take a hard look at your trading. Where are you clinging to prediction, to control, to your ego? Where have you avoided volatility or shied away from immediate feedback or let a single loss define your confidence? Use the sections above as your blueprint. Start with what challenges you most. Maybe it's detaching your self-worth from results, or building a daily checklist, or training yourself to embrace chaos, not run from it. Reread Volman's chapters on those points, journal your sticking points, and make adaptation your daily habit. The edge is not in perfection, but in relentless, honest reinvention. If this resonated, don't just let it fade. Like, comment, and subscribe for more deep dives into trading psychology and execution. Share your toughest trading moment below. Which section hit you hardest, and which will you tackle first? Remember, the market will always change, but so can you. Make that your superpower.